Hi, guys, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Number, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Allie Russell.
And I'm Carlina Sample.
And it has been a very long time since we have been sitting down in the studio, so we are so excited to be back and have a special guest, Munzy Kabbara, here with us today from the men's swimming and diving team to just talk about some experiences that he has had here at A&M, but more importantly, a lot of experiences that he has had outside of A&M. So, Munzy, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're excited.
We are. Like Allie said, it's been a while. We missed the studio,
long.
so we're glad to have you as our first one back. Munzy is from Cypress, Texas, and he swims the IM here at Texas A&M. And also, he represented Lebanon in the 2020 Olympics, which is something we'll dive into.
Okay, pun.
Later on. But I guess just to start, Munzy, we always like to ask, what brought you to Texas A&M?
Man, that's a good question. I think the biggest thing that brought me to Texas A&M was the camaraderie in the family. I took trips at Texas, Georgia, A&M, and then there was another one that I was going to go to, SEC school. And I remember everybody was telling me, when you know, you know. And I was like, I don't know what that means. No way, like you just know. And I remember I took UT first, and I took A&M, and I went to Georgia, and on the flight back from Georgia, I knew. I was like, there wasn't even a doubt in my mind. I loved the camaraderie. I loved the team, my boys. Like, it's something that every kid dreams of. You think of what college is going to be like, and you're like, okay, this is exactly the kind of team that I want. These are the guys that I want to ride or die with. And so that's the main thing that pulled me to A&M. Also, the coaching staff. I think that we have the best coaching staff, the best weight program, the best sports science program, the best athletic training program. I think that everything at A&M is the best in the country, and they basically give you every single resource not to fail. I love the quote that they use here when you're a freshman. They say you have to try to fail at Texas A&M because they give you every single out.
So much.
I was going to say, I remember them telling me
gosh.
that as a freshman.
And you're like, oh, okay.
I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, you honestly, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I feel like coming here, and I say this every single time, but it happens every single time. There is that same exact, like, aura to the story that it just felt like home. If you know, you know. It just is everyone. I feel like every person that we've been able to sit down and talk with, people probably get tired of me saying the same exact thing, but it's just that reoccurring, like, it's just the tradition of A&M. It's just different things about A&M that, it's just the feeling that you get. And I think it's so special. But taking a quick little spin away from A&M, Carl kind of hit on this, the Olympics 2020. So you attended, obviously, the Olympics of 2020. Can you run us through what some of that preparation was like? You kind of have to rewind a whole ton, but kind of give us an idea on, for you personally, that's a change of speed from college athletics, and probably from where you were at in that time in your life. So give us an idea of what that preparation was like for you.
Well, it's definitely, now thinking back at it, there's a lot that you have to do that you don't want to do. That's always a cheesy quote, but I remember being young and my dad giving me two options. He was like, you can be a normal swimmer, you can be a social swimmer, or like do this for fun, or you can be really, really great at it and you can sacrifice a lot. And I was never really, the only reason I chose swimming was because I was so bad at every other sport. It was embarrassing. Soccer, basketball, nothing.
That just means it was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
It kind of was meant to be. And so when I moved, I lived in Dubai when I started swimming, and when I moved back to the U.S., I started swimming at Cypress Fairbanks Swim Club in Cypress. And I remember just it being what I wanted to do. I was like, this is what I want to do. I loved it, and I still love it. And that's one of the biggest things that I think is hard in any sport. If you don't love doing it, you can't really put the time and effort into it. It's I watch people day in, day out that they, like my dad would give me people in my club that he was like, these people are going to quit. And I'm like, no, these guys are really, really good. He's like, good doesn't matter. It's how much you love doing something. And I do truly love waking up at 5 a.m. and pushing my limit and doing all this stuff. But to be an Olympian, it was one of the biggest dreams that I've had. And I knew that I had dual citizenship, so I knew I had the opportunity to. I knew that I had a chance to go to the Olympics and become an Olympian, which has always been, I've watched every single opening ceremony since 2008. I remember watching Michael Phelps do all the medals, and in 2012 and 2016, I was, I think, 13 or 14, and I wanted to go so bad in 2016, and I wasn't even close. I mean, it was not even funny. But I remember being like, I remember after 2016, I was like, I will do anything just to be in that opening ceremony. I remember how much I just wanted to be in the, I didn't even, I mean, competing, yes, but being in that opening ceremony, looking up at all those people, like, they're all basically there to watch you. And that's, I thrive on the pressure. I love the pressure. I love when there's people that I know in the stands. I love when there's important people watching me perform. Like, that's what drives me and gets me out of the bed in the morning. And you have to make a ton of sacrifices. But I love Michael Phelps' quote where he says that if you really love something, you don't see them as sacrifices. You see them as what you have to do. It's not, you don't care about this party, or you don't care about this gathering, or you don't care about, and sometimes it's difficult because you have to say no to family, which is, I think, the hardest part for me. I'd rather say no to a party 10 times before I no to my family. And so there's a lot of mental side that goes into it. There's definitely a mental game. Obviously, the physical pain and the work and blood, sweat, and tears, that's always going to be there in any sport. But the mental side of it is like deciding that this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to let anything or anybody stand in my way. And it's a difficult thing because
it is hard. As
you get into high school, I remember that was my biggest, I remember one of my coaches, may he rest in peace, he told me, he's the coach that coached me from when I was 13 all the way till the Olympics. And he got to watch my Olympic swim before he passed away. But he told me that in high school, there's going to be a lot of factors that are going to mess you up. He's like, and you'll see there's certain people that'll go different ways. He's like, but you have to keep staying on that same path. Just don't even look at it. He's like, you can't be 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've always stuck to. 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Either both foot on this side or both foot here, because if you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, you're going to get torn apart by both sides. So that's the biggest thing for at least me in my Olympic dream. And I'm hoping next year, I have almost a year till the next Olympics, and I'm trying to implement all those same things again, but hopefully it's looking pretty promising. So I'm going to give it everything I've got.
Good. Everything that you just said sounded so inspirational, genuinely.
Yeah, literally. I was so locked in.
Because I also feel like it's a lot of kids' dreams to be able to go to the Olympics. I know for myself, I had that dream at one point, but there's only a few who actually live that dream out. And it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of grit. Exactly what you're saying. You can't try to be in two places at once, having 2 feet in 2 different places. But the fact that you kind of push through all those things, you remain disciplined, especially when you come to college too, it can get hard. But I just think that's really inspiring, like what you're kind of talking about and what goes into not only the physical preparation of things, but the mental preparation is probably outweighs anything physical. That's one of the most important pieces, but I think that that's really, really incredible.
The physical stuff is not easy, but it's easy. It's like
in comparison
you know what you have to do. You know what it takes. You know where you have to be. You know exactly what time you have to get up to do more than everybody else. Like, that's not the problem. The problem is making sure you still get up at the same time. Like, like the days that you have that you want to take off, those are the days that I make sure are the days that I'm on my best, like on my game, because I know that, I think one of the coolest things that my coach, it's kind of unorthodox that he used to do it. He used to make me not sleep for 1 day out of the year, when we had the hardest practice of the year, and everybody else would sleep, and he would be like, take caffeine, take whatever you want, do not sleep the entire night and come to morning practice. And I was like, dude, this guy's crazy. Mm-hmm. And he used to be like, if you're ever somewhere and you're jet lagged, or you go to a meet and you don't get good sleep, I want you to be prepared and able to race on your game.
Wow, yeah.
While you're beat, while you're tired, while you jet lag. And the funniest part is when I used to go to nationals in Lebanon, I used to go for 3 days. It's a 24-hour journey just to get there.
Oh gosh.
So I used to get there the night before, sleep, wake up the next day, and I'd have to perform and not lose a single race.
Wow.
And that's a different kind of pressure than anything. That's different than the Olympics. That's different.
Yeah.
I get more, and Lebanese Nationals is competitive. It's gotten more competitive over the years, but when I was there, it was I think the most competitive. I had the most group of guys in any age group, in my age group, and they kind of followed me throughout growing up. And that was that's where I had the most pressure. And that was also where I went the fastest I think I've ever swam, because I just love being there. It's the thing I was saying. I love the pressure. I love when the president of the country comes and he's watching you. Like, that's different. It's a different kind of feeling.
That's crazy.
Yes. And I think the one thing about the Olympics that I didn't say is I remember making the Olympics and then after competing in the Olympics. So I made the Olympics and I was doing all these interviews in my second language in Arabic, which is very difficult. But then I remember getting all these messages. I went from 2,000 followers to 11,000 in a span of a week. And I was like, this is insane. I'd never gotten this much attention. I had a ton of people, important people and verified people at the time. I was like, dude, what the heck? This is insane. And I remember feeling an entire country, I was getting messages from people paragraph long that I was just bawling to, because I was like, I have no idea who this person is. And they just sent me something that was so nice. Some of my own family didn't send me stuff like that. That's being backed by an entire country, competing for a country is different than competing for your college, competing for your club, or even competing for yourself. Yeah. It was just
I can't not imagine.
It's you're on TV and then your grandparents call you and they're like, hey, a whole town is this. That's,
oh my gosh.
It's a feeling that's what's motivating. It's not yes, being an Olympian, yes, going to the Olympics is very motivating. But that part, I think, since I've been there before and I've seen the kind of emotion that goes into it and the response from people, that's, I think, what I get goosebumps just thinking about it in the morning. I'm like, I want that feeling. It's everyone says the feeling of winning is better than any high ever. It's just you get that. I don't know. It's just it's
cool.
driving.
It's
an itch that you can't scratch until you're there.
Yeah.
Just from listening to you speak now and just seeing your admiration and love for the sport, and I can just tell that you're just gonna go so far as an athlete, because you just have this mentality of an elite athlete that they're supposed to have.
It's a maturity. It's a different kind of maturity.
Yeah, and it feels like it just comes to you so naturally.
Yeah.
You know what you're supposed to do and you know what you're trying to work towards. And so we've heard you talk about so much about the preparation to getting to the Olympics, but I'm interested in hearing of what did you actually feel like once you realized, okay, I fulfilled this goal that I've been dreaming about since I was a little kid. I'm here, I'm one of the top athletes in the country. So what did that feel like once you actually accomplished that goal you've been working so hard to get to?
I remember the opening ceremony. That I will never forget, I don't think.
That's my favorite part to watch for the Olympics too. I love watching the opening ceremony.
I wish that we could play it.
I know. I'm I wish we had pictures of the town, everything that you're talking about. That would be so cool.
The biggest thing in the opening ceremony was I wanted to be the flag bearer, but there was a really good athlete, a sharpshooter or skeet shooter. Okay. She was I think she almost had a chance to win a medal. And so she was definitely the first priority to be the flag bearer. And they picked her and I was like, okay, whatever. And so I remember, but then the sad part about the Olympics when I went was there were no spectators. And that's what I was pissed off about.
Because of COVID.
And I was super upset about it because my mom and dad and sister have been the biggest motivating factors in my life. And I wanted them there so bad. That's kind of why that feeling that I was talking about earlier, but also the reason I want to go is because I want them to see me compete.
Yeah.
They saw me on TV, but it's not. It's different.
It's different, and it's different for you, and it's different for them.
Yeah,
it is. And I remember I've never seen my father get choked up before, except at the airport when he was sending me off by myself because nobody was allowed to go. Mm-hmm. And the way that Japan held the opening ceremony, the way that they had screens in the opening ceremony to simulate people there, it helped a lot because I was kind of disappointed that there's not going to be a ton
Yeah,
of people. I was
yeah.
like, I've watched all of them. The one time I go, it's not going to be there. But no, it was, I remember they had like some kind of fireworks that went off and it lit the entire stadium. It was very, very dark, and it lit the entire stadium for like 2 minutes straight. And I remember just being there, and then we walked around, and then I remember seeing the fireworks, and I just broke down. I remember there was another girl next to me that had been before, Gabriella, and she hugged me. She's like, it does feel good. She's like, you'll never forget this for the rest of your life. And I remember just like, that was the biggest.
I know, I did too.
That was the biggest. That was, I think, the most emotionally draining night of my life, and I hadn't even done anything. I just walked around a little bit. But it was, watching the opening ceremony was also cool. I think the beginning of it, walking in, and I was like, it kind of felt like a dream. It really was a dream. I was like, I did not think that I was
So
in that
surreal.
arena. I was like, this is not real. Like, there's no way. I'm like pinching myself, like, what is going on? And then I remember I was watching all the Olympic events before, because I was one of the last days, and I was like, my coach was like, don't stay there too long. He's like, you'll wear yourself out. I'm like, yeah, this guy, whatever. And I remember being there, and I was just like, every time I get goosebumps, I would get so excited, and then I would go home, I'm like, as if I swam. It's almost taxing to watch world records being broken. It's almost just as taxing to swim it than to watch it, because it's,
You get so
you
excited.
feel it,
Yeah.
like my favorite one. One of my friends that swims at IU, his name is Ayoub Hafanoui. He's a Tunisian guy. He won the first gold medal for Tunisia ever,
Wow.
and he was in lane 8, which is just like in
Yeah.
the track.
In track,
Yes.
yeah.
It's the slowest lane,
Yes.
Yeah.
and he's, I think, the third person in history to ever win a gold medal from lane 8.
Lane 8. Wow.
And I was losing my mind. I saw him; he was winning the whole time. And
That's
after I went and
amazing.
asked him, I was like, what happened? You were obviously, and to drop that amount of time, like, now he's the world champion and 3-time world champion in the distance events. But I told him the other day, I was like, or after it happened, I said, what happened? Like, how did you drop
Yeah.
that
Right.
much time? And he was like, I just didn't want to get last. He's like, I was in 8. He's like, I made the final. He's like, I have a chance to medal. He's like, but I didn't care if I got 7th or 1st. He's like, I did not want to get last. He was like, that was the only thing that I didn't want to do. And I didn't understand it at the time, and everybody says, oh, if you have a lane, you have a chance. But that, now I get it. I understood it. And especially when I was there, I was talking to a lot of older Olympians. Like, there was one guy from Canada. His name was, I forgot what his name was, Brent. And he was saying that at the Olympics, you can't just show up and everything will go right. You have to actually do things correctly. And then, because you're at the Olympics, it might happen. Like, it'll give you that extra edge that you need. But you have to do everything right. And that's where I kind of had to lock back in and not go to all the sessions and stuff to watch, because I was drained.
Yeah.
It was so, but because it was a lot of fun. It's unlike anything. And I think the Olympic high that everybody talks about, I was like, dude, that's going to be completely fine. I'm going to come back. I'm going to get to work for the next one. Dude, it was hard. I remember how difficult that was. I remember, like, coming back and you feel like you're on top of the world. Everybody wants you to meet their kid and give their kid lessons and come to this thing. And it was insane. I was like, dude, it was like a month of straight, like, my life was go, 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 go. I was being flown to Lebanon to give. I was getting flown to Lebanon to give speeches and
oh, wow.
mayor's offices and stuff like that. Like, it was not anything that I think an 18-year-old was ready for.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a big shock. And then you come to college, and then it's like, what am I doing sitting in this Poles class? Like, what am I doing?
Like, hold on. I don't think I'm supposed to be here.
But I think now I'm glad that I went into college right after that. I think if I would have had another year of high school, I think it would have ruined me. I honestly think, not into my head, but I think it would have made me a lot more relaxed. I would have been like, dude.
Oh, yeah.
That's fair.
And
that makes sense.
And so I'm actually really, really glad that I came into college. It gave me a different output. And it was like, no, you're just like everybody else, especially at A&M. It's like they don't care if you're the number 1 guy or the last guy. You're held to the same standard.
Yeah, probably.
And so I was like, you know what? I was like, that's
awesome.
That's exactly what I needed. And that's why I think that's why I think A&M is the best place because they kind of ground you regardless of who you are, and they make you basically work for your spot.
Absolutely.
I love what Jay Holmes and Jason Kalanick say. They don't care if you were the world champion or if you are a walk-on. They're like, you're gonna earn your spot on the SEC team, and I was like, that's completely fair. I agree with that. So yeah, that's my Olympic experience.
Great.
That sounds like so much fun.
Actually,
really
swimming was
cool.
pretty fun though too. When I did swim, there's a camera shot of me. They had an underwater camera, and the pool. It's weird, but whenever it's a little deep, it's too deep. You feel like you're going a little slower. So all the pools are kind of the same. But the problem with that pool is the camera was in my lane, like right below me. And so the camera's moving with me, not with me, but with everybody. Yeah. And so it feels like you're just going in the same place. And so when I dove in, I was like, oh, are you kidding me? I might not have said that, but I like looked down, I saw the camera and it's going with me. I was like, dude, I don't feel like I'm going anywhere. But then it looked like I was smiling because I kind of was too. And so everyone blew that picture up and they were like, he's smiling or something, which was really, really funny, actually.
That is so. I'm going to be looking this photo up.
I know. I'm like, I want to see it.
It's on the. I think I have it on video still.
See, that would have been the perfect photo to have in the background.
and it was hilarious, and so everyone thought I was just having a blast with it, even though I was kind of ticked off that the camera was making me.
That's so funny.
And actually, I think another really funny thing that happened was in Lebanon. Swimming is not a huge sport. It's an Olympic sport, but it's not like the biggest sport that everybody puts their kids into. I think it's basketball, and so they don't know what heats and lanes are, and so I got second in my heat. Okay. So everyone thought that I won the silver medal.
Oh, like second overall?
And that was the biggest, like, I was kind of like, you know what? I mean, they don't got to know. My dad was like, no. And so I had to, like, reply to every single person.
Oh, God.
There was hundreds and hundreds of people. It was pretty funny, though.
Oh, my goodness.
That was my favorite. I think that was my favorite moment after.
You're like, all right.
Because at the beginning, I was like, oh, haha, no. And then I was like, oh, my God, this guy, it was a famous person that posted that. And so they were like, everybody went down the line.
Oh,
like,
my
so
gosh.
proud of this guy.
Oh, that's so funny. You're like, it was my heat, guys. That's so
but
funny.
I did crack top 100 in the world that year, and that's always
awesome.
always been one of my goals. I was like, I want to be the top. There's a lot of swimmers in the world, so I wanted to be the top 100
That's
in my
amazing.
respective event.
That's really amazing.
I want to be like you when I grow up.
Yeah, you're living out a lot of our dreams, genuinely. Obviously, different sports, but for a lot of people, like I was saying earlier, there's only a pinch of people.
Didn't the Women's Soccer World Cup just end?
Yeah.
We didn't
Spain
do
won.
so good.
Yeah, USA didn't do that
we
well.
didn't.
But anyway.
Kind of switching topic with you, being more recent adversities that have occurred in your life. Almost a year ago now, you underwent back surgery. So run us through what that experience was like for you, especially like adversity wise.
You never think that you're going to have back surgery at 19 years old. That's definitely a shocker. And I was told that I might never be able to swim again. I wouldn't be the same athlete that I was again. It's like kind of like your entire world coming down in flames. I remember that day there was gotten 2 car accidents that day. I figured out I might not swim again. Like it was like so many things that happened that day that went wrong. And I remember
happens like that.
I don't know why. And I just felt like hopeless. I was like, dude, I'm doing everything right. Like I don't know what I can be. God, family. I'm like checking off the box. I'm like, dude, I'm doing all these things. It's like, what is wrong? I mean, what am I doing wrong? And so then getting actually past the fact that I remember not thinking I was going to swim again. I was like, okay, I'll find something else to do. And so then my family and coaches and they're like, just let's do the surgery. Let's finish everything and see if you can come back, then we'll do it. And I remember that being, it's just a scary thing. Also back surgery, like spinal surgery.
Yeah.
I remember that I was like, what are the risks to that? I remember that was a huge factor for me. I was like, I didn't even want to do the surgery. But then I remember after I did it, I felt a million times better. I was just so angry all the time because of how much pain I was in. I wasn't able to also show my coaches and my teammates what I was really made of, because they saw me saving up, and that's what swimmers call it. But they saw me like saving up or picking and choosing which races I was going to go as hard as I could in, which is not me.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that I don't care if we have a chance to win the meet. If there's something before, I'm going to give everything, my everything. And so now I'm really glad that now my teammates will get to see that, and coaches of me. But it's definitely mentally taxing. I remember I was cool all the way up until SECs. I remember watching SECs and I was like, damn. I was like, I know that I was there the year before. I was there my freshman year, and I didn't perform like I wanted to because I was in a lot of pain. And I hadn't been doing everything that I could before that at SECs because I was also in pain in the weight room, and so I couldn't lift. There was just like a bunch of different factors that went on and on and on and on. And watching SECs last year at home, that's what killed me, because I was watching every single session. And just like I was talking about the Olympics, how they're so taxing to watch, SECs was, I think, even more taxing. I was like, man, I know I can be in that final. Man, I know I can be in the run, and I can be like right there with everybody. And so that was definitely like a mentally exhausting part of my life, I think. And now that I had to do a lot more, I think, than even for the Olympics, coming back into swimming, because I have to do more rehab. I have to do more prehab. I have to be on top of all my nutrition and stuff like that. So it's definitely an experience, but I honestly wouldn't change anything, which sounds weird, but the perspective that the surgery has given me, I kind of feel like I have nothing to lose. And that's the most fun feeling I think that I have right now. Like that's the most driving feeling, not the people, not my family, just having nothing to lose, because I'm going to put everything out there. And regardless of what happens, I was like, I know my family's quote that everybody always says is, do your best and leave God the rest. And that's basically what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do everything because God helps those who help themselves.
Yeah.
I love that.
I know, me too.
I love that.
It really, I mean, you can never prepare for any kind of injury. Like, no, I mean, especially in athletics, things kind of get, whether you have to undergo a surgery, no one knows when they're going to have a crazy, like, in practice and game injury. But it's a completely different perspective change when you actually go through it. And you do have a surgery. Surgeries are incredibly taxing. Incredibly taxing. They
test you in every part.
Oh, yeah.
Every part of your life. It's not just, they test you with your family, test you with your relationships outside of swimming, test you with your coaches, they test you with everything. And that's also, you were asking me why I chose A&M. That's why I chose A&M, because big shout out to Andy Jaros, Michelle Centennial, Reagan Suarez, Sherry Walters, they all like, and there's a ton of people that I didn't list, but those people made sure that I was good. They made sure that I was okay with like nutrition. And Margot, 100% with nutrition. Margot, I mean, she's great. I told her, look, I need these things. This is what I need. And she was like, okay, do this, do this, do that. She didn't like, nobody tiptoes around you. They tell you exactly what you have to do. And that's it. And that's the end game. And that was exactly what I needed. I needed kind of kick in the butt and be like, look, this is what you have to do. It's not going to be easy at all. Yeah. And Jay Holmes and Jason Kalanog also, like, I mean, they were so understanding with me, and they knew that I had to feel normal in order to swim fast. And so they gave me a year to basically adjust to what I was going through. Yeah. Like that's all you can ask for as an athlete. Yeah. But having that perspective, like you said, having the, I've been through this is easy. This is not hard. This is not hard at all. Yes. That's where it gives you a different, another perspective on even just racing and competing against people. Because you look over and you're like, I bet you that guy, maybe he's been through something, but he hasn't been through it. It's different. It's a different kind of confidence that you carry on your shoulders.
It's like the after effect, like kind of like when you get injured, you initially feel like you said, like, I do everything right. Like, why is this happening to me? Or what did I do wrong? And then it's like after you've been through it all, and then you're like, you look back and you're like, wow, like I really persevered and I really stuck through it. Yeah,
it teaches you so much.
You take for granted. I mean, doing normal things, cooking breakfast, bending down to get a pen that you drop. Like it's
being
very
able to
little
get out
things.
of bed by yourself.
Being able
use
to
a
sleep.
bathroom, like
Being able to sleep normally.
Slapping my back.
Oh my gosh.
It's
seriously. Which yours? I don't know how yours looked, but I know for the both of us, it was just straight laid down like a mummy.
That's exactly. I wasn't allowed. I had to have a hard bed, and I had it has to be as hard as possible because I couldn't
keep
round.
it straight. Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah.
And it's just like now you sleep on your side. Like there's just certain things that
They're
God gives you that
rewarding.
you don't take for that you take for granted all the time. And so now it's a different mindset.
Yeah.
As a whole, it's not just in sports. It's just in life in general.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So I feel like, as we all know, like we've all been through our little injuries and I guess not little, big injuries. And we all understand like the process of going through that recovery journey. I want to say journey because there is a lot of ups and downs in between it all. Your recovery journey may have taken place or happened like a little bit faster than you expected it to, maybe, or than anyone that expected it to.
Yeah.
How did it feel to kind of like beat all the odds that you were told, like, you're not going to be the same athlete or swim the same? How did it feel to like beat all those odds after the fact and say, like, yes, I am, like, I did it?
Honestly, I remember sitting in the meeting with the trainers and the doctors, and they were, the guy said, you're not looking at being the same athlete that you were. And I remember just like, I was holding it together all the way up until he said that. And I was like, dude, that's like not being able to give 100% is just, that scares me more than losing, scares me more than anything in the world. And looking back at it now, I'm so glad that he did say that, because I remember when I did decide, like, I'm going to do it, I'm going to come back, I remember being like, I'm going to make sure that I prove that person.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make
Lit
sure.
a fire
I don't have
under
to,
you.
and I don't have to like tell anybody that, but it was just, it's not like he was doing his job.
Yeah, yeah.
He's not saying like, he's not being a jerk, but I remember that exactly motivated the hell out of me. I was like, that's exactly what I want to do. I was like, just that quote, like that's all I needed. I remember I put that quote on my mirror and I was like, I'm not going to be the same athlete. I'm going to be better.
Yeah.
Flip the
switch.
switch.
I love it.
That was, and that's, I broke the Lebanese national record at Worlds.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
we're going to
what?
talk about
That was
next.
next.
Hold
That
on.
was, and I was only 0.08, 8/100ths of a second. For any track or swimming athletes or anybody that goes on time, they know that 8/100ths is very, very little. It's very difficult, even if I wanted to try and do it with my own two hands. And it wasn't so much about the 0.08, but it was about knowing that I was just a little bit better than I was before. I was like, no, I am better than I was before. Like that, it just gave me a confidence. If I would have tied my time exactly, or even just 1/100th better, that would have been a huge difference for me. I would have thought like I'm the same athlete or I'm better athlete. 1/100th. That's all it took for me. I remember that feeling. I wasn't even like that happy about the time. I was just like, I've still got it. Like,
You're like, I'm back.
It's the comeback story.
I'm comfortable, and you feel like you get that. Like, that's a great feeling too, especially you're recovering and you're so like headstrong through your recovery.
You don't feel anything.
No,
there's no pain. There's no breathing hard. There's just like I don't remember breathing hard. Like I was probably dying, passing out, but I was just like that was it. That gave you the satisfaction.
Yeah.
Like there was just an itch the entire summer that I had getting back into it, and I was like, dude, there's something missing in my life. That was it.
Back in
so
your groove.
Excited for you.
I
seriously.
love that. That's amazing.
That is so amazing.
Records being broken. First of many more, we're sure.
Yes.
So as we come to an end, we always like to ask our guests this question: if they have a cheesy tagline or favorite quote. And I feel like you like you've
You've
dropped
been
a lot of
throwing
good
some
quotes.
quotes.
Yeah, throughout the whole
I haven't
episode.
done my favorite one yet, though.
Oh,
So that's why I was
he
going to say I'm
saved
excited.
it.
I'm excited. But your favorite quote to explain maybe
Unbox.
the journey that you've been through, what would yours be?
Progress, not perfection.
Oh, yes.
That's a good one.
Okay.
That's also on my mirror, because it doesn't matter if you're better than the world record holder. It matters that if you're better than you. And just like you said, success is not linear.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just a straight line. It's a lot of ups and downs, maybe a lot more downs than ups. And,
Absolutely.
And so just showing yourself that you get a little bit better every day, that you get a little bit better in this area or a little bit better in this area. It doesn't even have to be big. That's why 8-100's changed my entire mind this summer.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that quote. And it's not my quote. It's, I think it's Caleb Dressel, his
Aw.
quote. He's the
Dang it. I was
world
going to
record.
quote you.
He's the world record, 5-time Olympic gold medalist, or 6-time, and he's world record holder. But he had that at the Olympics. He had that on his door.
Aw.
And he was going back-to-back events. He swam probably like 18 events in a
Oh my
week,
gosh.
which is
Wow.
between prelims, semis, and
Jeez.
finals. And he didn't care about winning the gold medal. He cared about being better than he was the day before. And it was so cool. We were sitting with him. I was sitting with Team USA, and I was watching him, and he was super fun and hilarious and whatever. And the day that the meet started, he switched. He flipped the switch. And that's what I always like to look at the best athletes, regardless of who it is. It's like swimming, track, cross country, or tennis, Djokovic too.
Mm-hmm.
We're watching him.
Their demeanor.
How they flip a switch whenever the competition starts, and then when they're out, it's completely different.
Yes.
Like when they're done, they're really nice guys like that. Caleb Dressel was signing everybody's autographs that they wanted in the cafeteria and all this stuff, because he is not only known in swimming but in every other sport now. But yeah, he was. But then the second that we started, he's like, no, like, and that it looks bad to say no sometimes, but it's just. The mindset that he was in was just different than everybody else's, and that's why it showed in the races. I mean, he won races on hundreds of seconds multiple times, which is very, very difficult, especially for the events that he swims, because he's a sprinter. So that means if he does anything wrong in any of his races, it costs him the entire race. He gets a silver or a bronze instead of the gold, and a world record. So that was it. I love learning from people at those things, but I remember he posted that on his Instagram after, and I've used it ever since.
That's
I
so
love
great.
That is great.
And actually Jason Kalinog, our coach, used to coach him when he was younger. He actually made the Olympic team in 2016, I think, in Rio and Jason was there when he did
That's
it.
so cool.
So he taught him all those things, which is why I also love.
That is cool.
That's super cool.
That's amazing. That's
Love
a great
that.
quote. And I
That
feel
is
like
a
it's
great
something
quote.
that you can like apply to like
Anything.
So many
exactly
areas of your life.
anything, like sports, whatever it is that you're interested in.
Work.
Hobbies.
Not yet.
Whatever it
Oh,
is, then it's
goodness.
great. But thank you so much for coming on and
Thank
just
you guys
giving
for
us
having
your
me.
time.
It was a lot of fun.
It was. We learned so much about you and just all the great things that you've been doing, and we know you're gonna do even better things in the
Thank you.
future and
Yes.
coming. And
Yes, hopefully our men's swimming and diving team, and hopefully women's as well. We're really excited for this year's
Heck
season
yeah.
as a whole, just as an entire program. So
Yeah.
Yes.
Excited to
Excited
watch you
for-
guys.
I know y'all always
Everything.
do good. Y'all are always doing a great job. So definitely we gotta catch a meet.
I know. Carl and I, we have to be better.
Yeah, we owe one to Baylor too.
We do.
And
We told
now
Baylor
we owe
we'd
one to you
come.
too. So we need to be at 2. But we just want to thank you again so much for just
Thank
sharing
you.
your story and your story behind the swim goggles.
behind the cap.
behind
the swim
goggles.
caps.
the goggles,
Okay,
Yeah.
behind the goggles.
That's what we'll label.
Well, sharing your story behind the goggles.
or actually behind the lane, because the lanes have numbers on them.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
that was good. Okay, behind
Okay, you're doing our job better than us.
the hired.
Oh yeah.
Behind
see
the
you next
lane.
week. Okay.
Yeah. But it's been fun. It's been fun. And we just want to thank you guys again. And we also want to thank our listeners for tuning in on this episode. And we will see you guys next week.